There we go. I love this. Everyone smile. There you go. Let's have those smiles. And Erin, I'll make sure you get a copy.
Great, thank you.
There we go. You look great. Okay, while the intro is playing, I want to thank everyone for tuning in to IITG Season Sister Speak. I am your host, Victorianne Russell Walton, along with Warren Green. I always love to surround myself with those that know more than I do. My parents used to say, if you're the smartest person in the room, then your room's not that smart. And I take that as to make sure you surround yourself with those that know more than you, who can educate, inspire, and empire everyone to be the best that they can be and to answer questions. Today, we have in the studio with us someone that is an associate of mine. I asked if she knew of a person that could come in and speak on my favorite topic, which is breast cancer. And she said, I got the perfect person. Her name is Erin, and I don't want to mess her last name up, Steigleder. And she is the education manager at the Virginia Breast Cancer Foundation. She is coming in the studio today to speak with us, and someone is telling me that my voice is too low. And I've never heard anyone tell me that I'm not loud. So that's shocking. So let's see if we can fix that. I hope that's better for you. I think that's better for you. I don't want to yell. So I have Warren. Yeah, I have Warren, and I have people calling trying to get on the show. Okay, that's not going to happen. So we have Erin in the studio along with Warren and myself. Today's topic is breast cancer care. Breast cancer care and breast cancer education. And the reason why I switched this topic, because initially it was supposed to be dating, but we switched it because, again, our numbers in the African American community is elevating. And there's a couple of reasons why. The pandemic, of course, no one was going to their appointment, but y'all weren't going to your appointment before then anyway. So, I don't blame it on the pandemic when our numbers were worse before, and now our numbers are horrible afterwards. So, we can only blame it on so many things, Erin, before it comes our responsibility. And as a two-time breast cancer survivor, I take breast care seriously. I know Warren does too. So we're about to jump into it. Warren, say hi to the people.
Hi, everybody.
We've got we've got some people following us. So here we go. Yep, my man Warren is on here. So to everyone listening in Japan, konnichiwa. For all of those listening in South Africa, bonjour. And for everyone that's listening in my Latino community, hola. So, and everybody else, what's up, y'all? It's time to get our show started. So we're going to dive in here because there's so many questions that you're already having and sending me when it comes to breast care. So, Erin, introduce yourself. Tell us all about you, and let's have a great conversation.
Sure. Thanks for the introduction. My name is Erin Steigleder. I'm the education manager at the Virginia Breast Cancer Foundation. I've been here for coming up on 6 years. And I really enjoy the work I get to do. In non-COVID times, I travel the state of Virginia and give presentations in different communities about breast cancer, what the disease is, different risk factors, and things people can do to hopefully adjust their risk a little bit. But that can be tricky. So yeah, I'm happy to answer questions that you have. And we have a lot of resources that I can get into later if you're interested. But yeah, happy to have this conversation.
Awesome. And, as a breast cancer survivor, and I know people are like, well, Vicki, you say that all the time. Let me tell you something. There are health disparities that people go through, diabetes, hypertension, all of those things. Until you have had chemo, your breast cut off, radiation, Herceptin, don't, please. If I want to talk about it, I'm going to talk about it all I want to. Look, Erin, I'm that chick that's wearing the crown in the grocery store, and people are like, why is she walking around with that big crown on her head? Because I'm a survivor of that, and I feel that I've earned it. And if it comes back again, I'll kick butt again. But people don't understand the severity of all of the side effects. Think about it like this. For every one pill you take, there's at least how many side effects, Erin? 10,
Oh,
12, 20?
I don't know. It depends on the person and how it interacts with what else they've got going on. The more specific treatment stuff is not really my background.
Okay.
But definitely lots of people deal with side effects due to treatment, and everyone's breast cancer treatment is different too, because that's something that people don't understand is that, breast cancer is not just one disease. It's at least 16 different subtypes, and everybody deals with it differently.
Absolutely right. And Lauren and I, we've had that discussion, and I've always said, you're dealing with a disease that, hey, Matt, you're dealing with a chronic illness disease when they make you sign a form before you even start your treatment that says, not if, when you die, you will not hold the hospital responsible for it. I'm like, what? When? What do you mean when? And that's the treatment, the best option for you. So we're not going to hop around. We're going to be specific in this conversation because I value your time and your expertise, and along with Lauren's. And we have so many questions. And if you don't know, or if you want to follow up on the question, please just tell me. We'll follow up on it because they're already sending. Hi, Joan. Let's do shout outs. How Joan? Hi, Christian. Hi. I can't pronounce her name, so I'm going to say Z. Hello to everybody that's watching and looking and listening. And Erin, just to let you know, our numbers start off low with live views, but when we come back to it, we'll have 2,000, 3,000 that have shared, that have liked, that are commented, because it is in the middle of the day. People are going back to work. So I appreciate everybody that's tuning in. Please make sure you share. I don't do commercials, but I will do some shout outs later on. But I want to answer a couple of questions that were asked several times. So I know it's important to you. So one is, Erin, what is your opinion of the experimental breast cancer vaccine?
So that's, I think there are a couple of them out there. The one that I have known the most about, and it's really honestly not that much, is I think they're testing it in Florida, and it's to prevent recurrence in triple negative breast cancer.
Right.
And honestly, I'm a big fan of vaccines because historically that's something that people have gotten right, is vaccines when it comes to medicine. And, it's worth a try, and going through the trials and things like that. Triple negative breast cancer is, it's one of the rarer types of breast cancer, but it's also one of the deadlier ones.
It is.
I think it accounts for 12% of cases and 40% of deaths. And it's most common in African American community and in younger folks. So it's really something that we need to do some more work on, because right now we don't really have focused treatments for triple negative breast cancer. And really the best treatment is to prevent it in the first place. So it's a good start.
It is. And when you talk about preventing it in the first place, it's very hard for, let me break this down. So for me, it was like, I have a family history of cancer. So the odds of me getting cancer out of 10 was 9. I mean, that's just my family history. But for those that have no family history, no genetic mutations, and then they received it, it's almost like, well, what happened? I don't have a mutation. I don't have a family history. Nobody in my family had it. And here I am, triple negative. What happened? And I tell people all the time, Sometimes it's not genetics. Sometimes it's just one of those paths that you have to take. But my question to you is, if you have no mutations and you have no family history, how can you get the TMBC?
So um, that's something that I don't know the particular, like what are the specific risk factors for different types of breast cancer. But I do know that, we are new in understanding genetic background and how different genetic mutations affect cancer risk and other disease. So we're learning more about that all the time. I was just reading this morning. There's potentially a connection with the Duffy variant in blood types.
Really?
Yes, that has to do with increased risk for triple negative breast cancer. Dr. Lisa Newman at Weill Cornell in New York has done some amazing work in this field. So if you're interested, look up her papers, look up what she has to say.
Lisa Newsom?
Lisa Newman.
Oh, yes, yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Familiar with her.
Yeah, she's awesome. And she published that paper 2 years ago, um, learning more about why triple negative breast cancer is more common among the African American population, and just learning more about that. We don't know. We don't know why people get breast cancer if they don't have a family history. And we don't know why some people with a family history don't get breast cancer.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we have so many questions. I talk about how we are behind when it comes to understanding how, a biological woman's body works. We didn't know how many ducts there were in each breast on average until the 90s because doctors didn't look.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
I mean, just now, I think it's the Susan Love Foundation. They just funded some work on mapping the ductal network in the breast because that doesn't exist yet. We don't know what it looks like. And most breast cancer starts in the duct. So isn't that going to be the
I
first?
did not know that.
Yeah. The hope is that maybe if we can find cancer cells really early, now that we know what the ductal maps look like, maybe we could do something non-invasive to shut down the cancer in the future. So there's just so much background that we don't have because there are questions we haven't asked yet.
And the questions that we do ask, we don't have the answers to. It's 2021, and often to me, I'm shocked and saddened when I hear we don't know, we don't have the answers. My great grandmother died of breast cancer, and at that time they cut her breast off. And here it is, 2021. We're doing the same thing. Don't get me wrong, we've come a long way, but to still have the only option for a lot of us is a double mastectomy. I mean, that was over 100 years ago.
And it's amazing that you know that in your family history too, because I talk to so many people who are like, I don't know about my family history because I know my grandmother had cancer, but they didn't talk about what kind it was.
Yeah.
Because again, when it comes to reproductive or like more sexualized body parts and cancer, it just wasn't talked about.
No, it's a secret. There are a lot. Like, I didn't find out about my great grandmother until I had it. That's when I found out. I didn't hear a word about it until I started digging around. And when you start digging around, you dig up family history and you dig up things that maybe you shouldn't know. That was one of the things that they felt that the younger children, because I was a child, I wasn't even, well, matter of fact, I wasn't even around when she was born, but the discussion was when I was a child, and a child stays in a child's place. So that wasn't a conversation that I was privy to. So I didn't know anything about it until an adult, until I heard a cousin mentioning it. And I said, really? She died of cancer? And I started diving into it, and I wanted to know why and what happened and what was going on. So family history is important, but even if you don't have a family history, you're still prone to the same diseases. And that's across the board, all chronic diseases. You're still prone to that. And as African American, guess what? It's all yours sometimes. It wants you. You're that special person that it wants. So we have to fight harder, longer. And no, I did the genetic testing. And for me, the 25 markers that they give you, that they test for, guess what? All 25. Thanks. Thank you. Thank you. Now,
And
is that genetics or, is that just I fell into the cracks? Is it blood work? I don't know if it's genetics or not, and I can't do anything about it, but I can tell you I'm so grateful that I know. So now I know what my options are to fight. And we want people, Erin and Warren, we want to remind people that they should not be afraid to find out.
mhm.
Some people say, I wasn't sick until I went to the doctor. No, you didn't know what was going on until you went to the doctor. Now that you know what's going on, now you have a means to fight. Now you have to
Mhm.
fight. So, Warren, you're awful quiet. Warren's never quiet.
I was just trying to absorb what was. I see genetics to me, genetics by the data might be 10 to 15. I suggest it might be 20% of cancers. Cancer's environmental. So let's look at environmental. There's not much you can do about genetics. The genetics are the genetics. I mean, and all you're gonna do, all medicine can do is treat genetics. However, I'm a cancer survivor also. I think I should have mentioned I was diagnosed in 2005. So I've been around for 16 years. I kind of get a hint. I think when I was 50 years old, when I finally decided I better start trying to be healthy, and I did. And all of a sudden now, 30 years later, I feel a lot better. I kind of got an understanding of what's going on here.
Mm-hmm.
I think, and because of the environment and what part of the environment do we all share? Food. Food, I truly believe food is the problem. I think that you got to aim for the cause of any disease. What caused it? I don't understand how medicine they're treating the symptom. They're not treating the cause. And I don't even know whether the research money is not really going into the cause, it's going into treatment. So you have to start understanding and the fight. When you say you're fighting, you have to be fighting the cancer. And to fight the cancer is between you and the cancer. Your support team is helping you in the fight. But you need to be understanding what's going on. You need to understand what triggered it, what you could have did to trigger it, instead of just leaving it to that blanket statement. Well, it was my genetics. Well, maybe not. Maybe it was something you ate, something you breathed, something you drank, and think about that. Think about what kind of substances are carcinogenic in your environment. Take a look at that. Try to sort through everything, go through everything that you can so that you can give it to your support team so that they might be able to help you. You can't just go there. I feel bad. I don't know what the doctors are supposed to do, except give you the treatments that they have, which are chemo, radiation, or surgery, and now immunotherapy, which I believe is immunization anyway, because it all stimulates the immune system, and that's what you got. But there's more in the pipeline. You have to probably do your research, go to the National Institutes of Health, see if you got anything that's similar to what you have and what they have and what's in the pipeline, what kind of medicines are coming out. You want to know all of this so you can advise your doctor, because if he's seeing 10 or 15 patients a day, he might not have a chance to research all of this. Or he might want to go home and watch the ball game himself when he leaves work.
And that's part of the problem, though, too, is that there isn't a lot of information on the environmental potential causes of breast cancer. I mean, it was only recently that they were talking about alcohol and the relationship with alcohol and breast cancer. And now it's everywhere. And, there's some conversation about some ingredients in cosmetics, but there's not really a lot of great research.
They knew when they approved RBGH. I talked about this last week.
Hold on, Warren, before you talk about that, tell them who you are and what your credentials are.
Oh, okay. I'm Warren Green. I retired from the Food Safety Inspection Service of the USDA. I
Mhm.
worked in the business in the food industry and in food safety for 20 years in Washington at headquarters. I was an inspector prior to that, so I'm all into the food thing. As I said, I'm a cancer survivor uh, since 2005, and I've been doing research. I write a column called Health and Nutrition Strategies for Cancer Survivors and everybody else. If you go to albemarletradewinds.com, you can find all of my articles. I ceased writing for them after 10 years. I think there's enough information out there. I don't have, and I'm accumulating new information now. But if you go there, you can find all of my work there.
Okay,
Okay.
Warren. So let's jump into it.
Okay. So, like I said, the cause is it can't be on your medical team. You're going to have to try to dig as much as you can to find out how this happened. What happened? How did I get the cancer? That was the first question I asked. How did I get this? Well, the doctor can't answer it because he don't know. And you're not going to give him for that hour a year or maybe 2 hours a year. I'll be even generous. 3 hours a year that you see your doctor, you're not going to be able to provide them with enough information for them to get to tell you what's going on. You're going to have to do a lot of the research yourself if you can. You or your family members or anything else. You look at the hereditary part of it, but the thing you have to do is do your own research. Period. That got to be your reading material. Find out like this RBGH. That's a synthetic growth hormone that they give to cows to increase dairy production. They started that in 1996. There was always questions about that, and they really thought, and they're looking at it now as the cause of the most aggressive breast cancer. Right now, I would certainly look at that chemical, and if you find that to be true, I would stop the dairy completely, unless it's what's the word I want? Organic, unless
Mhm.
it's organic or maybe it's from another country, because most countries don't allow that substance in their dairy cows.
They're down.
We're the only ones.
Yeah.
And like I mentioned last week, when we don't allow that, so they don't buy our dairy cows. So the only market for our dairy cows are the McDonald's and the Burger Kings and the Wendy's. So that's where you get the dollar hamburgers, because ground beef is an expensive item. So, but you can get a dollar hamburger. Why? Because there's no other market for it.
Yeah.
So one great site that I found when it comes to breaking down scientific research,
Mhm.
particularly when it comes to breast and other hereditary cancers, is Force Facing Our Risk.
Yeah.
They have something called X-rays, and they will analyze a scientific
Yeah.
article. They will rate how relevant it is, how much it should affect your daily life, and things like that. Explains it all in plain language. I think it's a great source for folks.
Yeah, I
So
think you have to take that into consideration. But sometimes, as Vicky says, in the African American community, it gets kind of sparse because African Americans typically don't go to clinical trials, don't
no,
do clinical trials, don't do
no,
studies, don't do
no.
everything else. So they really don't know how. But however, and you look at the communities where what they do is they collect the data on 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 cancer around the world. They found out in China it's very small. There's not a lot of breast cancer. Well, what's happening there? Well, they don't eat a lot of meat. They don't look. So the China studies is a powerful study, the most comprehensive study ever taken. I
Yeah.
suggest everybody that has had cancer or somebody in their family, take a look at that study, try to understand it. Go to YouTube. They got great lectures on it. Take a look at it, see what you got, see what you can see what you can glean out of there that might impact you.
Well, the saying is true. You are what you eat. It is. If you eat Cheetos and soft drinks and sugary mess, that's what you are. So you can't feel bad about being bloated and overweight and your knees hurt and your headache and your diabetes and your hypertension. You've got to add greens and color to your plate. And you also have to assist your children with doing the same thing. You know, your children eat what you eat. If they don't see you eat a vegetable, why at the age of 6 are you trying to make them eat a vegetable when they've never had one and they've never seen you eat one? So I firmly believe in you are what you eat and what you put in your body. Your body can't fight if you did not give it what it needs to fight. And that's with any health disparities. And I'm pretty sure you see that every day, Erin, in your daily walk of people not being healthy. I know Warren has. That's a part of also not eating healthy. But Erin, we have so many questions to you. We're going to dive into it. What is Erin's opinion about immunotherapy?
Again, it's not really something that I've delved in too much. But, you know, I think that we're learning more and more that cancer is an individualized disease. No one's cancer looks the exact same as their neighbor's cancer or even their family member's cancer. So going forward with individualized medications and therapies, it makes sense to some degree.
Right.
Concern obviously is cost. And that's a whole different animal. But, you know, I know in different, particularly, I think blood cancers, they've had a lot of progress with immunotherapy. And, you know, it's honestly, I don't think we should leave any stone unturned when it comes to figuring out what'll work. We got to kick some tires and try some things because, you know,
we've got to try some new stuff. You know? I agree with you. We have to try some new stuff.
There's cancer cells. The body's always mutating.
Yeah.
As there's cancer cells always around us. There's free radicals. As the environment is polluted, these free radicals are causing mutations and so forth and so on. Your immune system cleans that up. The immune system doesn't. The immune system doesn't recognize the cancer because that's your cells. So it thinks it is. So what they do with immunotherapy, I was at some lectures way when it first started before it was approved by the FDA. What they do is they draw your blood and they teach your immune system what it ought to do and how to recognize these cancers. And then they put it back. It's a very powerful drug. But the key to it is to strengthen your immune system anyway. You don't need a chemical to strengthen your immune. You need to stop hurting your immune system with things that your body doesn't need. Now, there is no reason for an adult human being to have dairy. None. Except that you like the taste. There's no biological reason for you to have to consume dairy from another mammal. Doesn't make any sense. When your mother stopped lactating when you probably were 3 or 4. So something is wrong with the whole concept of letting that be your food staple. You have to stop. Soon, I like to say, sooner or later, you got to get off the tit. Sooner or later, you have to wean yourself because most human beings on the planet, 90% can't process dairy, period.
That's true. And it gives us so many other issues, eczema, asthma.
Well, your body can't process it. So
hold on a second, Warren. Erin, would you please introduce yourself and tell them how to get in contact with you?
Sure. My name is Erin Steigleder. I'm the education manager at the Virginia Breast Cancer Foundation. Best way to reach me is through email at Erin, ERIN, at VBCF, the letters that are on my screen right now, .org. So Virginia Breast Cancer Foundation.
And Warren, tell them how to get in contact with you.
Yeah, you can also reach me on email, warreng9241 at hotmail.com. I'm on Facebook. Facebook is touchy though. There's, that people are hacking and everything else. But if you go there, you can find me there. As I said before, you can go to the albemarletradewinds.com. You can find me there. You can find my articles there. And that's my story.
Okay. And for me, you can find me at Always Facebook, social media. You can call 301-442-5105 or 301-683-8690. This is the IITG Season Sister Speak Talk blog. We are going for our next 30 minutes. I just want to push plug for those of you who are on lunch that stopped in and said hi. A lot of you were asking for Erin's information and Warren's before you go back to lunch. So we appreciate everyone on all social media who are sharing and talking about it and who will share later. We really appreciate you. Yes, this is Victorianne Russell Walton, aka Maryland's Big Diva. And we're going to dive back into it because we've got a lot to cover. And please stop calling me and text me your questions because I'm not going to answer on my phone. Stop it. But I appreciate the love. So, and thank you to my family. Shout out Connie and Joan. There's some questions coming in, and I see your questions, and we're going to get to them. Erin, this is for you. What is your advice for breast cancer care during COVID?
So, main thing is still go get your mammograms.
Yes, say it again, Erin. Say it again.
Get your mammogram.
Yes.
There was a major dip at the beginning of COVID, and now it has people panicking that we're going to have lots more cases of breast cancer and some other cancers that there are screenings for. And that could result, I've seen numbers like an extra 10,000 deaths over the next couple of years due to delayed screenings. Yeah. So with the mammogram, it cannot prevent you from getting breast cancer, but it can help catch cancer as early as possible. Yeah. We were talking about triple negative breast cancer earlier. Screening is particularly important because triple negative breast cancers that are caught during a screening mammogram adds years to survivorship.
It does.
It increases your chances of survival for triple negative breast cancer. So absolutely get your mammogram. First step. Doctors' offices are safe.
That is great. And while we're talking about triple negative breast cancer, I want you to back me up and let people know that, okay, yes, they say you have a 5-year window to live. That's what the doctors give a lot of people with TNBC, but that's not it. That's not the final. They're not saying that you have 5 years to live after a diagnosis. Thank you and good night. Would you please elaborate on that?
So typically when it comes to cancer survival rates, it's given in 5-year survival. So they're trying to let people know, how many people are still alive after 5 years after this cancer diagnosis. So that's what those numbers are saying. And that doesn't mean most people with breast cancer are living past 5 years, 10 years, 15 years plus. But it doesn't mean that they're cancer free after those 5 years. Because some people, particularly with triple negative breast cancer, it's more likely that it's going to recur within the first 5 years after your first diagnosis. So people could be going through their second round of breast cancer treatment within that 5-year window from their first diagnosis. But, with metastatic breast cancer, which is when breast cancer has spread to different systems in the body, it used to be that, who knows? Doctors didn't give people long. But there are improved therapies, particularly depending on whichever system the breast cancer metastasized to. People are living 10, 15, 20 plus years because of those advancements with metastatic breast cancer. On average, it is still quite low, but that's not necessarily written in stone.
Okay. So I love that. And I keep telling people, just because the doctor says, your 5 years is all you get, 3 years is all you. I know a lady, and they told her that she had weeks to live. And I asked her if I could share this story. She said I could. And she said she went out and she splurged. She blew her credit cards. She went and bought this expensive car. She went on this vacation she couldn't afford and put it on her credit card because the doctor said 2 weeks and that was it. And she was slow and sluggish. And she told her husband, let's just go for it. I'm going to be gone in 2 weeks. And that was 7 years ago. And she's still paying on those bills.
I mean, I would say, honestly, if if a doctor is giving you some sort of estimate like that, I'd prepare for both. I mean, make sure that you have your documents in order, advance directives, will, so that your wishes are upheld.
Exactly.
When you may not be able to voice what they are yourself, but also know that that's not necessarily what's going to happen.
Right. Because
I like to think that a doctor can't give you that much, that they can't get enough information for you to give that kind of prognosis. I really don't think that they could do that. In fact, I have a very aggressive prostate cancer, very aggressive. 9 out of the possible 10 Gleason. I mean, 10 is the worst. So they know that it advanced beyond the prostate. They know that mine has metastasized. It hasn't metastasized anywhere, but it's always detectable. I've never been in remission, and it's been 16 years, and I feel great. So I refuse to allow.
I think it's a mindset. I do.
But the whole thing is that you have to have a course. You need to figure out what you're going to, how you're fighting this thing. My thing is I'm gonna search for the cause. What caused the cancer? Because medicine is not telling you what the cause. Even if they cure you, if they found something to cure you tomorrow, you don't know what caused it. So what's going to keep you from getting it again? The tumor is just the expression of the cancer that's in your body, and it went to your weakest point. So it'll express itself in the breast, in the prostate, in the pancreas, wherever your weakest point is. That's why you want your immune system strong, so it can protect you from these things.
So, Erin, I like that, Warren. Thank you so much, because Warren always brings it to the table. That's why I love having him at the table. But Erin, what do you think is the best type of breast cancer, breast care for that? Do you think detection is thermal imaging is great? Do you think, of course, to me, the fingers are the best way to detect it. You can feel with your fingers, but thermal imaging is the best way to detect if there are other cancers. What's your opinion?
So mammograms have historically been, they're not perfect, but they are the best tool we have, and they're pretty darn good. And thermal imaging, the studies just don't match up to the same quality as mammograms. Most folks now have access to, at least it's my understanding, have access to 3D mammograms. That's really what you want to go for, particularly if you have dense breast tissue, because it's just going to take a better picture. On a standard mammogram, dense breast tissue and tumor tissue both show up white. So sometimes it's hard for the radiologist to see where the tumor is, if there is one. Knowing your body is excellent, because you might get a mammogram once a year, but you're with your body the other 364 days. It can crop up, even if you just had your mammogram.
Anytime, anywhere.
And also the lump it's not the only sign of breast cancer. You could get a sore on your breast that doesn't go away. You could get a rash, discharge. You can have nipples pointing in different directions. Basically, if there's any change in your chest that looks a little weird to you, bring it up to a doctor. And also, lumps under the arm. That's when a lot of folks find their breast cancers. They're in the shower and they find something under their arm.
I'm glad you brought that up, Erin. Can you tell them why the lump under their arm? Tell them why.
So that is a swelling in the lymph node. That you may not necessarily be able to feel a lump that is really deep in your breast tissue, but it might be easier to feel something if there is something under your arm. And also that's connected to, been some news lately about the COVID vaccine. And if you have gotten your, and when you should get your mammogram based on when you get the COVID vaccine, because the COVID vaccine can cause swelling in the lymph node because it's activating your immune system. So it can confuse the mammogram a little bit, and look like it's potentially a breast cancer issue when it's not. So if you get your COVID vaccine, wait at least 6 weeks before you get your mammogram, or you could get your mammogram first and then get your vaccine.
Okay, before vaccine. That's funny, because that was my next question about the vaccine. People seem to think that once they get this COVID vaccine, that it will help in the fight with their cancer. so they stop their chemotherapy. Is that true? Should you stop?
So I think that is up to the doctor, definitely. I don't know the particulars of that. I imagine there might be something to do with the immune system because
Mm-hmm.
there's when you're taking chemotherapy and things like that, your immune system is suppressed, so you're not going to have as much of the reaction that we want from the COVID vaccine or from any vaccine, really. But really, that's the question of which is more vital for you to get right now, and that's a question for the oncologist as to when you should get it and what things you might need to stop temporarily or please keep going with while you get your COVID vaccine.
Okay, that's great. This is a great question. Ask Erin, can she tell us where all of our lymph nodes are?
Oh, that I do not know, but they are everywhere.
Yeah,
I
they
mean,
are.
when your doctor,
Google it. Google
yeah,
it.
when
It'll
your
show
doctor
you a
is
lot
like
more.
feeling on your neck, during a standard doctor's appointment, there are lymph nodes in your neck, all throughout your chest, your legs, and your groin area. I mean, they're everywhere. It helps to move fluid throughout the body. I'm sure Warren will be able to give a little bit more background information, but they're everywhere.
But for Erin, for breast cancer care, can you elaborate for breast cancer care where they are? I know I
Sure.
felt a lump under my left arm, so I know about that.
So what I kind of refer people to when it comes to if they're going to do any sort of, we don't like self breast exam necessarily anymore, but if they're going to be checking their body, I reference basically like the sports bra area. You want to go like up or around your collarbone, down your chest, under your arms. So it's not just the specific breasts; it's the areas around. So if you have any kind of swelling, even up near your neck, collarbone, that kind of area, that's something to mention to your doctor anyway.
Good point. Well, Erin, this is for you and for Warren. It says, is eating hybrid food bad for you?
Eating what?
Eating hybrid food.
Hybrid food.
Right. I guess they're talking organic versus
Well, okay,
non-organic.
maybe. I don't know, you're talking about GMOs and so forth and so on. No, probably. I like to break it down chemically, and all we're looking for is essential nutrients. And in fact, if you were diagnosed with cancer, I think it would be a good idea to reduce your diet to your essential nutrients, what your body needs, as opposed to what you like and all of that. Go with what your body needs, which are your proteins, and you'll try to get quality proteins, quality carbohydrates, try to get your water clean, try essential nutrients, and you can go on your phone and ask what the essential nutrients are. I would look at that first, and I would stick to that for at least 30 days, look at your numbers and see what your numbers are going to be like, so that when you go for your treatment and stuff, they're basing your treatment on what your current numbers are, as opposed to what your body's trying to clean itself from when you were eating all the other stuff that caused the cancer, if that's not too complicated.
Okay.
I also want to mention too that all this conversation around non-GMO or eating organic and all this stuff, it can if it doesn't actually price people out, it can intimidate people, be like, oh, I can't afford all that stuff, I'm just going to eat whatever. And because there's no way I'll be able to afford it. So that's important to understand too, is that there is not yet specific high quality research saying that yes, all organic is the most important thing, or anything like, or no GMOs. It's basically eat fruits and vegetables. The source is not as important as eating your colors. And I will say that you can also do everything right and still get cancer. There's that gold medal winning cross country skier a couple years ago. She got breast cancer at 42, I think. Know that she like right after, that her body was in peak physical condition. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to be careful too, in that there are things that there are choices that we make that can contribute to our cancer or to our,
But sometimes it's not.
and we know that, but it's
Right.
also not someone's fault
Right.
they get cancer. People who
Right.
get cancer should not be blamed for the cancer, because neither of you, I mean, it's not your fault. Neither of you deserve the cancer.
Right.
So it's being careful about
sure
the conversation.
Erin. I didn't want it then, and I don't want it to come back. I think there should be a God rule. Once you get it, you don't ever get it again. That should be a God rule. I've been talking to God about that. I don't.
Yeah, but if you don't know how you got it, then how in the world can you? How can you even assume it won't come back?
Well, that's true.
I mean, to me, it should be obvious that it'll be back if you don't know how you got it, and you go back to doing what you were doing. Yeah. Well, you don't even, if you don't know the cause, I still don't understand how my and I love my doctor, my oncologist, but after a lot of stuff, he said, well, now you can go back to doing what you're doing. And I disagreed with him adamantly about that. And I go to Johns Hopkins every quarter, and we talk about it all the time. But something I was doing caused me to get this cancer, and I'm going to have to make some adjustments to my lifestyle, period. I have to find that. I can't expect them to find it. They can do their blood work, they can do their MRIs, and I get PET scans and all of that, but that's fine. I still have to find out how this thing happened.
The important thing is the knowledge. So I use alcohol as an example. So if you know that having a drink every night might increase your risk of cancer, then you can make an informed decision as to whether you want to do that or not.
Right.
But that's the problem with a lot of cancers, and particularly with breast cancer, I would think, is we don't know what all of those things are. If I'm able to make an informed choice about the cosmetics I use, then I want to do that. But we don't have that information, as another example. So there's still a lot more that needs to be done so that the consumer can make an informed choice about what they eat and how much and what they drink and what products they buy, because then it's up to them.
Right.
I absolutely agree. And that's what my column was based upon. I looked at all of these things that I found while I worked for the Food Safety Inspection Service, all these chemicals and additives, and why I would say organic. And I think organic is important because I suggest that the United States government threw up their hands when they know they couldn't keep these synthetic chemicals and these pesticides and all of this out of the food. They made a whole category of foods called certified organic and U.S. certified organic. So you know there that you don't have sewage sludge in that. You don't have none of these things. You're not supposed to have it. Now you might have it anyway, but you're certainly not going to get it in the degree of all of this, like Roundup in the carbohydrates in the rice. And of course, if you're eating organic, you're not supposed to get that stuff.
Right. Right.
So I would say that organic is very, very beneficial, period. And in this country, we need to really start looking at that and try to get our food sources and our food chain corrected. Because if we're putting all of these substances in the environment and hurting people, I think it's inhumane that they're going to have to pay for their health care when we're helping poison them. No substance gets into the environment without the approval of the government, period.
Well,
none.
And we could go toe to toe about this conversation because it's a conversation that we have often when it comes to the food. Just eat as healthy as you possibly can and do the best that you can and drink water and flush it all out. Exercise. Erin, I know that you educate about exercise and how that's an important part of your daily activity, but they also want to know, what programs do you offer there?
So Virginia Breast Cancer Foundation, we are education and advocacy organization. So I'm kind of the face of the education space. So we have newly diagnosed packets that are available for free for people who live in Virginia that have information on all sorts of resources when it comes to being newly diagnosed with breast cancer. And we can break it down. We have some specific information for people who have kids, folks who are LGBT, because, people need different information. And I also travel and give presentations. We have some webinars available on our website that anyone can take a look at, get some information. And advocacy, we do some training to help people learn how to advocate for policies that affect people with breast cancer and their families. We host a state lobby day, advocacy day every year, and we work with National Breast Cancer Coalition on federal advocacy day most years as well. So that's really the focus of what we're doing is educating people and then giving them the tools to talk to our government about policies that can be enacted to help people who have breast cancer and their families. But yeah, that's the gist of it.
That is awesome. I love it. And again, Erin is with the Virginia Beach Breast Cancer Foundation. She's back at home. So we are, and even though she's in Richmond, it's still Virginia across the board. So as my mother said, I can reach out and touch her if I need to. So we are excited, and we are always excited when we can educate the community about a chronic disease that we know is impaling and hurting people every day. This disease has not gone anywhere. This disease has not been diminished. I know people are facing, we have a COVID shot. Where's our cancer shot? I don't know. I got that, Erin. I can't tell you how many times I read that. Ask her, where's the cancer shot? Erin and I don't know. We've not promised every year that we were going to get rid of cancer. I know there's some organizations that have done this every year for the past 20 years. This is the year donate and we're going to get rid of cancer. And I'm like, no, you're not.
We answer one question, we get 10 more.
Yeah. Yeah. So we don't know when the COVID vaccine is coming. We know, as Erin mentioned earlier, there is something that they're working on in the triple negative breast cancer world that they've discovered. And is it a cure, Erin, or is it a clinical trial?
So it's a clinical trial at this point, and it is to prevent recurrence of triple negative. So my just basic understanding is that someone will have had to have already been diagnosed with triple negative breast cancer and then could potentially enter this trial to get the vaccine in the hopes of preventing a recurrence.
Erin, and do you speak with her often?
With whom?
I think her name was Dr. Is it Love? Dr. Love that's doing
her? Dr. Susan Love, she has a foundation, and Dr. Lisa Newman is up in New York, and she's one who had the triple negative research that I mentioned.
Okay, so it's Dr. Newman. Okay.
Mm-hmm. And I haven't spoken with her per se. I heard her speak, and I was completely enthralled and went more into her research after that, and it's just fascinating. But yeah, she's everywhere. You can Google her and get some of her information.
I will definitely do that. But in the meantime, we have you, and we can reach out to you and get information just as well. We are planning a breast cancer pop-up party in October on the water where Warren Green is. We're coordinating with him, and we are coordinating with Erin, and we are coordinating with some other organizations that are calling and asking to come to the table in the name of breast cancer on the water in Virginia Beach. And Erin, we are praying that you and the ladies there will all come and be a part of it. It is going to be a blast. It is a free event. We're going to do breast care, breast education, but we're also going to have fun. So you're going to make sure you reach out to us and talk to us about supporting and being a part of. But, Pharrell Williams is doing something in the water next year, which is going to be a huge blast. And we were going to be a part of that. And we will be a part of that next year, Lord willing. But we're definitely doing a pop-up this October, and you're going to want to be a part of it. We are so excited about it, Erin. I cannot wait. I don't care what hurricane's name is that's coming around the corner. That Saturday, we will be down there in Virginia Beach having our pink pop up, and we cannot wait for all of you who have been affected or know someone. Everybody knows someone that's dealt with cancer. I mean, let's just put it out there. You need to be at this pinky party. Everybody knows how I get down at a party. So you need to be there. You need to be there early because we are going to practice social distancing and everyone will not be allowed at the party. You might be in your car down the street, but everybody will not be allowed. Once we've met our numbers, we're going to close the flood date. So you're going to want to RSVP early and you're going to want to get down there early and come in the name of cancer and have fun and represent. I cannot believe our hour is almost over with. I didn't even get to half the questions. Sorry, everybody, but I think we covered most of them. But what I want to do for the last 4 minutes that we have, well, now three, I want to give a minute to Warren, and then we're going to follow up with Erin. So, Warren, you have a minute to tell the people what you need to tell them.
I think that you have to start thinking that you don't want to maintain the status quo. You want to get healthier. And like I suggested, and we've been suggesting diets. I like the DASH diet, the Mediterranean diet, vegetarian. I would think that you want to try that for a month, particularly if you're not at the top of your game. You need to try to get healthier. You want the optimum. You want to be the healthiest you can be in case you get one of these diseases. Your body will be able to handle it.
I like that. I like that. All right, Miss Erin.
All
Again,
right.
thank you for being our guest today. We were so thankful to have you and all this great knowledge. Please tell them whatever you need to tell them.
Sure. Just a couple things. We talked about genetic testing. Doctors are less likely to offer genetic testing to African American patients. Doctors also less likely to let their African American patients know about clinical trials that exist. But if a Black doctor tells a Black patient about clinical trials, that patient's more likely to enroll. So encourage folks to get interested in science, get interested in medicine, help to diversify the field. It's going to help everybody out. And if you don't think your doctor is asking you the questions that they should ask them yourself. And if your doctor isn't listening to you, it's okay to go get a second opinion. That's something that's really important, particularly for younger folks. Speak to a lot of young women who went to a doctor with breast cancer and their doctor said, "Oh, you're too young, don't worry about it." So if you're worried about it, find a doctor who can explain it to you in a way that makes you feel comfortable.
I like that. And I want to remind those the youngest in Maryland the age in Maryland for breast cancer is 12. Yes, I said it right. 1, 2, 12. Okay. So you know your body. If you feel something that's not right, say something. Like Erin said, if that doctor doesn't listen to you, and I've had this when a doctor doesn't listen to me, you fire that doctor. They work for you. You don't work for them. And if they're not going to listen to you, you find someone that will. And that underage thing, there's so many women out there stage 4 breast cancer in their 20s. And is it in the food? Is it in the water? Is it in the air? I mean, we really don't know. If you're smoking, then yes, we know where you got it from. You're a smoker, right? But for a lot of us, we don't really know. Like Warren said, you have to kind of narrow it down for yourself, do your own research and find
Use
out.
your doctor to verify your findings. Use
Yes,
your doctor to verify, not to find, but to
right.
verify.
That's right. Oh, we have a quick question. Is it important for cancer patients to get the COVID-19 shot?
Yes.
You heard
I
that.
think so.
Talk to your doctor.
I think you
Yes.
should.
Yeah. Yeah. You're fighting with your immune system can only fight so much, people. Come on. You have no idea how many viruses you inhale in a day. And we're not going to get into that. That's for another discussion. But just
Well,
think about
herd
it.
immunity is going to be achieved, and the people who are not vaccinated are not going to be the part of the herd.
Yeah.
That's exactly what's going to happen.
Right.
It's going to be achieved.
Yeah, it is. And again, you don't know how many viruses your body is fighting on a normal day. And you've been in the house for 19 months. So now you're going back out into the atmosphere with germs that are waiting at the door, like, she's back. but does your immune has what it needs to fight it this time?
That's the key.
Does your body have what it needs to fight it? If you're
That's
sitting
exactly
here
it.
eating a number one, a number two, and drinking all this sugary stuff, that's what your body has to fight with. That's no shield whatsoever. You got to give your body a shield. Fruits, vegetables, I give it healthy, drink water. If you want something sugar in your water, go get those little packs Warren and I talking about. I add lemon to my water. I add cucumbers to my water. I made a lemon drink the other day that was great. Add raspberries.
Green tea should be part of your liquid diet, period.
Drink water, get healthy. But I want to thank everybody for tuning in to the IITG Season Sister Speak. I've had my guest, my co-host, let's start with him, Warren Green, but my guest, Erin Steigleder, who educated us, who gave us what we need. My mom calls those things nuggets that you can take with you and put them in your pocket. You can always reach out to her. She gave you her email address, Erin at vbcf.org. I think I said that right. Okay. And she is at the Virginia Beach Cancer Foundation. But if you
Virginia Breast Cancer Foundation.
I'm sorry, Virginia Breast Cancer, Virginia Beach, Virginia.
Oh, I think she froze. So, Erin, are you coming down to the party in October?
I am. I don't think we have I don't know if I have that information yet, but hopefully once I get the details.
Yeah, Overture is outstanding. It's off of I don't know. Are you familiar with Virginia Beach?
Yeah,